In this video, I'm going to teach you how to eradicate shame as a woman. And by the end of this lesson, you will have the answer to these 3 questions. What is shame and why do we experience it? How does shame show up in our energy field? And how can we begin to accept ourselves and transmute shame? If you do not know me yet, my name is Holly11. I teach women how to alchemize their past wounds and release their inner blocks. Let's start looking at learning objective number 1. What even is shame? Why do we experience this? This is you today. This represents our energy field and our energy centers, which is where shame eventually will sit. So why do we even experience shame? What is shame? The shame that we hold for ourselves is the opposite of unconditional love, because shame is built on judgment. Shame is built on fear. When we feel guilty or deeply embarrassed about something, we may show up in a certain way, or we may behave in a certain way, or we may be involved in an interaction with someone. Someone treats us a certain way, and we feel deeply guilty, ashamed, embarrassed, annoyed, disappointed, upset with ourselves about what's happened, and we are simply unable to accept it. Unable to accept what has happened. We feel guilty, embarrassed, and fearful about something that has happened to us or something that we have done. So I say that guilt, embarrassment, fear is the primary feeling. It is an experience. I have done something and I feel guilty. I have done something and I feel embarrassed. I have done something and I regret doing it. Regret, let's put that on there. So this is like the primary experience. We've all done things that we've regretted. We've all done things that maybe we wouldn't do again. We've all done things that haven't always been in alignment with how we wanted to show up for various reasons. And this is part of being human. Now, the difference between guilt and shame is that guilt is the experience, and when we manifest, ruminate on it, feed our energy to it, it can become our identity and it can then embed into us and change how we are showing up. If we take this as our own, take it as our truth, give energy to, it then can manifest as part of our identity, false identity, and then manifests into shame. And that then becomes the secondary experience of the original action, the original interaction that we have been part of. So this is then the secondary experience, or symptom, you could say, if you want to sound more professional. Why do we experience so much guilt, embarrassment, fear, regret in the first place? Why is it that we as humans, as individuals, feel these emotions so much, especially when we don't do things that we deem are perfect, when we do things that we think are unacceptable, undesirable, shameful? Why? Because what happens then is we have, like, from this shame, this ball of energy, and we keep feeding it with our thoughts. I am bad, I am shameful, I am guilty, I am embarrassed, I am this, I am that. These points of judgment that we are directing to ourselves then allows the shame to become part of us and embed into our energy field as these blocks that we then carry forwards that cause more harm to us and change the way that we are showing up. The thing that I have learned from myself and also from other people is the fact that if you were the only one to ever know what has happened, if it was only you that knew what was happening, you probably wouldn't feel as much energetic charge and emotional charge towards situations. It is only the fear of being judged, the fear of how you are going to be perceived, the fear of being rejected by others, the judgment of others, that makes you feel so shameful, that then causes the blocks. We are worried about how the external world will perceive us, and we are worried they will then withdraw their love. Their perception of us will be changed in a negative way. External conditions. It's not dried. External conditions sometimes become the conditions that we have for ourselves too. But the conditions that we have for ourselves a lot of the time are only there because of the systems that were put in place. External conditions then become our own conditions. So these are things like judgments, perfectionism. Especially as women, I feel that there is this feeling and idea that we have to be perfect and we have to show up in a certain way that doesn't really involve mistakes. Or if we do show up a certain way that isn't what society deems as acceptable, then we carry a lot of shame around that, around our needs, around our desires, around our behaviors. So perfectionism is a massive one, especially for women, when we feel like we can't really make mistakes. And when we do make mistakes, we feel that we're going to be judged for that, because we are not following the box or the framework. So I would say the two main external conditions are judgments, perfectionism, and let's say rejection. Are worried about possibly being rejected from social circles, from society, because of what we have done. The mistakes that we have made that are part of being human. And these are conditions of love. Let's call them that, conditions of love. For example, if you do something and it makes me judge you, I will withdraw my love. If you do something and it's not perfect or doesn't fit the ideal that I have of you or the ideal that I have of myself, I will withdraw my love. If you do something that doesn't meet the standards that I have for you, I will withdraw my love. Conditions of love. And often these external conditions then become personal conditions that we have for ourselves, which links in with self-love. So we are then withdrawing love from ourselves, we are hating on ourselves, we are shaming ourselves, we are being rather mean to ourselves because we believe we are not worthy of our own love because of the things that we have done and the conditions that we believe we must follow in order to be worthy of love. All of these are the opposite of love. I always speak about this. I feel like, let me draw a heart so I have something else on the board. What do all of these do? Act out of alignment, bring us further away from being able to embody unconditional love for ourselves, because we are then carrying these judgments within us. So this can then form chains around our hearts, can cause us to close up, cause us to judge ourselves. And then this manifests into all these different thought forms. Normally, I don't fill up the whole board when I'm teaching. Normally, I just stick in like one corner. So I really have been trying to be intentional with filling the whole board. And I feel like I'm doing a good job so far. So this then makes us feel like I am unlovable because of what I have done, which is simply not true. You are already so loved. I am unlovable. I am unworthy, not claiming. I am unworthy. Oh my goodness me. Okay, I am unworthy. I am undeserving, which is simply not true. You are no longer aligned with having unconditional self-love for you because of the conditions that you believe you must follow, and therefore the shame that has manifested into your system. When we keep feeding these thoughts, when we ruminate on them, this is when these thoughts solidify, are transferred to us, and then show up in our energy field as blocks, which is what we're going to go on to now. And the reason that shame is so significant is that we carry these past events forwards, and rather than alchemizing them and learning from them, we allow it to continue to have chains and control over us. We are not free because of the own limits and conditions and blocks that we have formed in our mind. This is why there's a lot of judgments and conditions and fears in society, because it means we end up following these systems and these conditions and these thoughts about how we should be showing up, which then means we're trapping ourselves with our own minds and our own energy. And shame is one of the lowest frequencies energetically, leaves you vulnerable to even more spiritual attacks. This leaves you vulnerable to more interactions and experiences that are harmful for you, that aren't for your highest good, that will keep you trapped and stop you unlocking new levels in life. So when we can get to the bottom of shame, when we can release it and alchemize it into something beautiful, we actually are able to reach new levels in life and hold a new amount of love for ourselves. So then, all of this beautiful love that we have in our hearts, can just be radiated out for ourselves. And then your potential is limitless. Learning objective question number 1, already covered. I waste no time. On to learning objective number 2. How does shame show up in our energy field? We can get rid of all this now because we have hopefully concentrated, listened well, and learned. The sun's come back out too, so hopefully the lighting is better in this video now. This looks like when my mom used to be on the phone. When I was younger, she would always have a piece of paper that she would like do drawings on. At the same time, she always used to draw things like this. It's kind of what it reminds me of. I've become my mom. Your heart, energy field, energy field, energy field, energy field. And we are going to look mainly at the sacral chakra because this is the center where shame manifests and where these blocks linked with shame manifests and forms. Sacral. So if you're not yet aware of what the sacral chakra is responsible for, I'm going to do a quick overview. This is the core link to shame, and it is responsible for our creativity, emotional flow, sexuality and sensuality, which are different things. Get to know. Pleasure and relationships. So maybe you can already start to be thinking in your head, okay, how could shame affect the sacral chakra if this is what it's responsible for as women? Use your experiences to think about this and make it relate to you, and then we're going to work through it. I feel like a teacher. I always wanted to be a teacher when I was younger, and I didn't become a teacher. Feels like I've become a teacher in my own way. I don't know what that is, but yeah. If we feel any form of guilt, if we feel any form of embarrassment or regret about the way we have shown up, our desires, sometimes about our body, sometimes about relationships, experiences with other people in a romantic way. If we feel any guilt or shame or embarrassment around our emotional expression, if we feel guilty for expressing our feelings, then we can have blocks in this area. And we can also subconsciously hold a lot of shame if we are neglecting our own needs, because sometimes we conceal parts of ourselves because we believe we have to show up in a certain way to feel loved, to feel worthy, to feel accepted. These conditions of love again that I spoke about before. Feeling of regret, this fear, this guilt around the fact that we've neglected ourselves and we believe we should have done better for ourselves. Guilt around our desires. Suppressing emotions. We could have had harmful relationships. And the experiences, the interactions, the outcomes of this have caused us to feel guilt, embarrassment, regret, shame, fear in some way. This energy has then stored in the sacral and blocked the energy flow to this area. Blocked. Then this can have a negative, harmful impact on the way we are showing up. So we can feel things like low self-esteem then. We can have creative blocks. We can feel disconnected from our body because it could be that we experience some form of shame because of judgments that society puts on a woman in terms of how she's showing up physically, or what she's choosing to do with her body, or how she's interacting with other people, can hold a lot of shame and judgment from society because of the choices that she's made. And sometimes when we've been judged, when we feel embarrassment because of something that we've done that involves our feminine body, we then actually combat this by being disconnected. Because all of these are like protective mechanisms, but we don't want them there. We want to be free of them. Disconnected from our sensuality and our pleasure too. And because we don't want to face shame, because we are embarrassed by shame, the emotions that we feel towards something or towards this, rather than facing it and working through it, we are so embarrassed and we are so guilty and shameful about it, we want to forget it. And these emotions then get pushed down, trapped in these areas in our energy field, and then can show up as mood swings or this emotional instability. Mood swings. We can then have unhealthy relationships if we have blocks in this area. If we have creative blocks isn't just like artwork. Creativity is how we're showing up all the time. We're always fueling creativity from us into the external world. So if we have blocks here, we can feel misaligned, we can feel lost and disconnected. And because these blocks limit the life force that's flowing to the area that's flowing naturally as it should, we can also then have issues with reproductive health and menstruation. So this could also then cause menstrual issues too, potentially. So there's a lot of things that can be the manifestation of shame. And if you feel that you're struggling with these things, it could be because you are carrying shame in the sacral areas. You're carrying shame in your energy system, these suppressed emotions. We want to be able to release them and transmute them so we can be free and we can actually show up the way that we want to and the way that's going to make us happy, because that's exactly what you deserve. Not there, so I'm not going to go into the solar plexus too much. I'm just going to speak about it. Solar plexus sits here, just under the breastbone. It is responsible for our personal power, our identity, and our sense of worth. So shame can also manifest here if we feel shameful around our identity, around who we actually are as individuals, because of what we've done, or because of fear of how we'll be perceived, or because of regret, like I've previously discussed. This can then manifest as this harsh inner critic. If you've got such a harsh inner critic, again, this could be linked to shame, fear of rejection because of what we have done and how it's showing up, these conditions of love again, and also an extreme fear of judgment or failure and how you will be perceived if you do fail. So solar plexus also can be linked with shame, as well as your root, but I want to focus mainly on sacral here, especially because this video is tailored to women. You, hopefully, if you're watching this still. So a big mistake that a lot of us make when it comes to freeing ourselves from these blocks is that we believe that when we have done something wrong, that is part of our identity and that is who we are, and we should carry that with us forever. And if you think that way, you will continue to carry that forever and it will hold you back. But you deserve and you should accept every single part of yourself and hold love for every single part of yourself, because the only reason that you would act in a way that you're not happy with, or that you would act in a way that's maybe harmful to others or you're embarrassed about, is because you're worried about how others are going to treat you, or because you're genuinely upset with the way you've shown up. Both of these conditions is because you or someone else is acting away from love. The only reason that you would neglect your own needs, the only reason that you would enter harmful relationships, the only reason that you would feel guilt around your desires is because something that you are carrying that has caused that behavior. And that is because you are not aligned with love and you're not carrying the self-love. You already have blocks and you already have wounds and you already have things that maybe aren't healed that's causing you to show up in a certain way that you're not happy with. And even these parts of you deserve to be loved, because you cannot hate yourself into love. They are opposites. They are two different poles, love and hate. But you can transmute and transfer from one type of feeling and way of showing up to another, okay? And that's what we're going to look at now. And sometimes having these blocks and getting to know them can actually be a blessing, okay, if you were to reframe it. Because sometimes we have to deviate so far from love to be able to come back to wholeness. Sometimes we have to be taken so far away and so misaligned from who we actually are. And it's only then that we're able to show up for ourselves in new ways and hold more love. Worked with yourself in all of these stages, and you're able to show love for yourself in all of these stages eventually. The connection that you will have with yourself will be so strong like no other. It's like when you have a relationship with someone else. Sometimes when you go through difficult challenges, the relationship gets even stronger because of the capacity of love that you have had to hold in even the most difficult of situations. And it's the same with you. When you work through these blocks, the amount of love that you can hold for yourself will be even greater than if you hadn't gone through these blocks. And that's why you cannot let it get you down. You have to like take the opportunity and see these wounds as like access keys to even further deepening the relationship with yourself and the amount of love that you can carry, and therefore the amount of abundance that you can attract. And that's why we're also alchemists on this page and this channel. And I also want to teach you not only how to release these blocks, but how to actually use them to your advantage. And with all that said, let's get on to the final part of the lesson. We've done this, because I'll waste no time. How can we begin to accept ourselves, keyword accept, and transmute shame? All of these parts that we suppress, that we are embarrassed about or ashamed about, are suppressed and form what we call our shadow self. To access our shadow self and to begin to accept our shadow self, we must do shadow work. The more that you move towards love and wholeness, and the more light your heart and your being embodies, the more that light shines and reveals the shadow. So the more that we actually decide we're going to work on ourselves, heal ourselves, clear our energetic blocks, the more shadow parts that we have to face. And this can actually be really tough to start with and feel horrible, which is why a lot of people avoid it. I'm really, really big on being able to face the parts of yourselves that you don't like and holding love for yourself, because I spent a lot of time when I was younger sitting with the parts of myself that maybe I didn't like, that were painful, that I wasn't really proud of. And it took me a long time to actually connect with my shadow self and realize that our shadow self is just a product, again, of the conditioning or the things we've experienced growing up that have been other people, ourselves, the world, acting from a place that is out of touch with love. And the only way you can heal that is by giving love. And it takes time, but hopefully through my experience and what I've learned now, I'm going to give you some tips. One sec. The door's just opened somehow. Let's close it. It was the shadow. To start with, I want us to hold compassion for ourselves. I see you. Holly, I'm talking to myself. I see you, I love you, I accept every single part of you. And I mean it. This is the level we want to get to. Hold compassion. Have acceptance. Then we want to get to the root cause / drive, which I will explain later. Well, in like 2 minutes. This, the root, is very important of everything, because this is how we learn. This is how we learn, how we grow, how we transmute. Ooh. Okay. So, hold compassion. Unconditional love, which I speak about a lot in my videos, is basically like how a mom loves her child. And maybe the mom doesn't always agree with what the child does, but she doesn't stop loving that child. And we need to kind of have the same way of interacting with ourselves, especially our shadow self. It's about holding compassion for the younger version of us, the current version of us, the future version of us potentially, because I'm sure we're going to make mistakes again, and being able to open your heart up and holding compassion for all versions of you, because that's what you deserve. You deserve your own unconditional love. And if you struggle to feel empathy for yourself, if you struggle to actually open your heart up, maybe then we should start connecting with our heart, so you can visualize and bring your awareness down to your heart more often and just connect with your heart and just visualize your heart opening up, energy and light pouring from your heart and clearing your system, clearing your energy field. You know how I drew you to start with the curly hair today, and her heart and the energy field. Just picture your heart opening up, pushing out any blocks and just clearing your energy, and just connect and sit with it. The thing is, because the shadow self is often unconscious, you might not be fully aware at this point in time about all of your shadow aspects, and that is completely fine, because there is levels to this game. There is levels to it, and there is layers, and you will find that you will get to know one part of yourself, like let's say peel back layer 1 and release these blocks, work to heal yourself more, and then you'll be met with layer 2, because you'll be ready then, and then there'll be even more. So this is like a big journey, and it's not just something that happens over time, and you shouldn't expect that, because you don't have to do things straight away. Don't need to. Take your time. But if you're not sure where to start, think about what things you strongly judge in others. So when it comes to the things we suppress, often we will then project that outwards. So maybe we judge someone else for being really creative. We're like, oh, why aren't they just normal like the rest of us? Why do they have to pick a different path? If you're so judgmental on that person for picking a different path, then you're suppressing your actual wants and desires. And you actually want to pick a different path, but you're fearful and you're scared. So that's part of your shadow aspect. And this is why shadow work is actually a beautiful thing, because it releases a lot of the judgments. The further that you bring light to your shadow and love and accept it, the less you'll judge others, because you just simply don't feel that you just feel like you don't need to or want to anymore. You don't have it in you anymore. And it's beautiful, because then it has a ripple effect. Then you hold more love for people, then you show up in a more authentic way. And it's just like a beautiful upwards spiral. I love it. Okay, we also want to have acceptance. And I think sometimes we just need to own things more. And I'm not saying like go and tell the whole world, by the way, 5 years ago, I did this really silly thing and I want you to all know it. That's not what I mean. I mean acceptance with yourself. I just say to myself sometimes, I did this thing once and I actually allowed a lot of disrespect into my life because of that. And that disrespected me. And the funny thing is, I didn't even want to do it. But I was people pleasing, so I did something. And oh well, I 100% own what I did at the time. And now I can accept it and move on. And that is that self-acceptance that allows you to be free of anything that you have done, allows you to be free of your shadow self. It is nothing to be ashamed about. Because when you are in alignment with your soul, with who you truly are, with your heart, with love, you will realize there is never any judgment. Because all of the love is always within you, within your soul that we always have. And you can't take it from me. And I can't take it from you. And that's that. So often these conditions of love that I spoke about before, that the external world tries to put upon us, that makes us feel shame, guilt, fear, embarrassment, isn't ever going to be the truth of who we are. Because no matter how much I judge you, how much I shame you, how much I make you feel guilty, I can never take your soul. So I can never take your true source of unconditional love, value, worth, abundance. Now, this is not me giving you an excuse to go and do crazy, silly things. Not at all. Show up in a way that brings more love. Don't never show up in a way to intentionally bring harm. But if you have done things that have unintentionally brought harm to others or yourself because you were unconscious at the time or you were acting out of your wounds, then the best thing you can then do is show love and release yourself of the shame. When we heal ourselves, we don't even realize the impact that that has on all of the people around us energetically. The best thing you can then do is open your heart up to yourself, and you're doing it for others too. So if you still feel guilty for things you've done to others, the best thing you can do is open your heart and work on yourself, and you're doing some good. And then, shadow. Get to the root cause / drive. Learn, grow, transmute. Get to the root cause / drive. What is she on about now? So, here you are. Yay! You've shrunk in size. Yay! You show up, and you want to show up with love, your true form. But then you have these filters already acting upon you from past wounds. So this might be people pleasing. And you might be thinking, love, I want to show up with love for myself. Your intention might be to put myself first. Do things I'm comfortable with. Respect myself. Sounds great. But then we have these filters, so all of a sudden, the way we would like to show up is then compromised. And instead, this filter is going to do the talking or the acting. So instead, we might do something you're not comfortable with because you're people pleasing. And you do something to please others because you think someone else wants to do it, but you deeply don't want to do something. And then you do it. And then you feel shame about it because you never wanted to do it in the first place and it wasn't aligned with love and your truth because of these filters already. Even that looks terrifying, doesn't it? Even that word. Like when you look at that word, shame, it just almost psychologically sets something off where it's like, oh, I don't even want to look at it anymore. But it's okay because we're accepting the things that are shameful today. Okay, going back to our point, how can we accept ourselves and transmute shame? Shame. How can you possibly be mad at yourself when it was these filters that were doing the talking all along? It was something that was misaligned with love, that was doing the acting. How can we possibly heal this with more of the same thing? How can we possibly heal this with something that is enough love? Self-love. And this is why self-love is such a beautiful thing. And it sounds like such a cliche thing. But when you think about it, this is what self-love is. How are we going to heal this with love, self-love, self-love? What can I draw to represent this? Oh, cute. You see, this is all the shadow self is. She's just scared, like feet, like that's the shadow self, for example. There's the shadow. Give her some blush. We have two options: to never accept ourselves and to still hold this negativity towards her, or we can show her love. Do you know what? Maybe we've done things we're not proud of. Love you and accept you. And we're gonna set both of ourselves free. And guess what? I forgive myself, I forgive my shadow. I don't need to erase you, I just need to accept you and move in a direction that's more of love. And then we're gonna look at transmutation. So now I'm gonna love you. I want to love you. Shine light on the shadow. She's kind of cute. Don't be scared of her. Transmutation is taking something that's not, let's say, as beneficial or as valuable, converting it into something else that is actually useful and valuable, using the same elements, using the base that we already have. So let's say we have the base of shame, and it's fear 2. Here we have love. And these things are misaligned from love, misaligned. Let's say this is 0. Let's say this is -10. We're all the way over here with how we're feeling. We begin to accept ourselves. We begin to hold love for ourselves. We begin to hold compassion with ourselves. We begin to connect with the version of ourselves that have done things in the past, just like a child. And we can hold all of this love and forgiveness for them. So we are directing so much love, so much love, so much love. And our energy here is so intense. Boom, 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 boom. Because if it wasn't for this here, we wouldn't even be shining any light, any awareness onto it. And this fuel then, this accepting ourselves, allows us firstly to learn to never show up in that way again, because we simply know we don't like how it feels. To number 2, grow. Actually bring consciousness and awareness to how we now actually want to show up. We may never have even known this if we hadn't had this in the first place. And then transmute. Can you still see? I've disappeared. I've disappeared. Wait, there we go. And then number 3 is transmute. And transmute is the end point. And what we're going to do is just so much more love than we have ever before. More love than ever. Connect with hearts, open our hearts up, hold compassion, heart-centered work, self-love meditations, connecting with our inner child. Go and look at my other 2 videos before this where I speak about connecting with the inner child, self-love meditation, how to break free, how to reclaim our feminine power. This all links, this is all part of shadow work. Go and look back for even more things. And what we then do is take all of this energy, which is now here. We're going to shift it, shift it, shift it, shift it back into love, but even more amplified now. Because we've now connected with ourselves on a completely new level. We've gone on a deep journey with ourselves that we would have never done. We've been able to connect, see ourselves, hold compassion for ourselves, hold love for ourselves, even when we might not be fully proud of the things we've done. If you can still hold love for yourself in the moments when you feel a bit guilty or ashamed, oh my goodness, that is like the greatest act of self-love and strength. And when you've done that and you realize, hey, I love myself so much, things don't really faze you anymore, and the fears, the conditionings, the judgments from others are kind of like become a lot less relevant, because you know how strong you are rooted within yourself. And you would have never known this if it wasn't for the shadow, and if it wasn't for having to face your shadow and push to new limits. Now, never mind being at -10, never mind being at 0, we're at +10. You're winning in life now after you've done this work. You're unstoppable. This is how you unlock new limits in life. This is how we eradicate shame as a woman. This is how we begin to accept, love ourselves, transmute shame. If you have any questions, be sure to link them. Remember to open your hearts always, firstly and foremostly for yourself. Every single part of you deserves love. I hope this video was helpful. Now you know what is shame, why we experience it. How does shame show up in our energy field? How can we begin to accept ourselves and transmute shame? My name is Holly11. Thank you for showing up today. Make sure you subscribe to my channel for new teachings like this every Thursday. And as always, I will see you in the next video. Bye.